Hello, Miss Brittany.
Hello. So good to see you.
Oh, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. So it's recording right now, but I'll probably cut out just like the beginning, but just so it's already recording, we're ready to go. Um, I'm good. Did you have a good Christmas?
I did. Yeah. Got a lot of family in town, so it's been fun. How about you?
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
I was meant to be back in New York like actually this week, but I was flying Southwest and all that stuff happened. So I'm here in St. Louis, but I'm going
Oh,
next week. So it's kind of nice, but it was a little stressful.
no. You're like all geared up to like know when you're leaving and then like, oh. Yeah.
Right. So, but it's nice because I have like a desk here and I don't really have a desk in New York City. I do. It's like a makeshift desk, so like I can get more work done actually with Ruby Jade rituals and all the stuff that I do with Ruby Jade rituals. But so it's a blessing in disguise. I mean, like you said, you plan and you're like, I'm ready to go, and then but it's all good. Are you living in St. Louis right now?
I am here, but I leave on January 9th. Yeah.
Ooh, where are you going?
I am going to Sedona first,
Okay.
and I'll probably be there until like beginning of February, and then
Yeah.
visit my best friend Shelby, who lives in San Diego for her birthday, and um, yeah, from there, depending on how the flow of from here and then goes, I would love to go down to like either Mexico. I was thinking Peru, but it looks like some things are happening there right now, so I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just have like some international travels in mind that I'm looking
Oh, that's so fun.
in just some more different projects than
Yeah.
now.
Sedona feels like a place that you go to, like you lived there, right, at one point, or do you just like feel called to go back and visit? Because I've been there before. It's very powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, I it was funny. I didn't necessarily think that I wanted to go back there, but I feel like I just got some guidance through like some sound journeys that I need to step in there. Um, I have some things to navigate with like the children's book, but yeah,
Yeah.
I lived there like part-time kind of the last 2 years. So I've got like a pretty stable community there and just wanting to check in and see whatever I'm being called to do there for a little. And then, you know, I don't
Yeah.
know. It's interesting. Everyone's like, so you're moving back to Sedona. I'm like, no, I love it there, but I don't know if I would want to live there like full
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. You should look out for a lady called Dara Dubonnet.
Sarah Dubonnet.
Yeah, she's really cool. She's like a like I don't like I guess I'll just call her like a mystic. Like she does a lot of different things, but she's really into astrocartography, geography. And
Ooh,
yeah, I've taken a class with her two actually, and she's really good about like honing in on your astrology chart mapped out on the world map.
wow.
Yeah, so she's really into that. She's also into the nodes. So I took a course with her on the North Node and South Node. She has a really good curriculum with that. But she's
Mm.
now in Sedona and she was living in California and like she talks a lot about her life. I don't know if she's from Florida, but she was living in Florida. So she's kind of been all over, but she's a little bit older than us. She's probably like in her I don't know, 50s or 60s, but she's super knowledgeable and super cool. And now she's in Sedona. But maybe your paths will cross or something.
I feel like now that you like, I feel like that happens all the time. Like you mention someone like, oh, you should run into this person. And then that's the type of place where you're just like, find them or something. I don't
Right, right.
know.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's cool. So how this is gonna work is we're just gonna go into convo. It's just gonna be an exchange between you and we're gonna focus, on astrology, but we're gonna weave everyday life and what we're passionate about into the talk.
Cool.
So this has been a talk that I've been doing since 2020. I can't believe it'll be 3 years that I've been doing this in September.
That's awesome. Way
Yeah,
to be consistent.
I know, and you're my last call for 2022, so it's like a really special little thing that we're doing, and it's even more special because we're both from St. Louis and we met each other in middle school,
Yeah.
which is
I,
kind of crazy to think about that, like, we've known each other that long. We went to different middle schools, however, we still somehow were connected, went to different high schools. The 20s came and went, and now we reconnected at somebody's wedding.
yeah.
I told you I wanted you to come on and speak, and that was back in March, and it's now close to the end of the year, and we're finally doing it. So it's just really fun how it manifested. I knew it was gonna work. I didn't know what day it was, but it just happened, and I'm really looking forward to the talk. So, Brittany, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit and just maybe talk about how we met and how this is playing out today.
Okay.
So just give a background on yourself, like where you went to school, what you did, and then maybe just really quickly sprinkle in how our paths crossed.
Okay. My name is Brittany Larson. My painter name is Sundance. So on like social media, you might see like Brittany Sundance. And I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri, which is how I know Kenzie. Because I went to a different school district and kind of just grew up like your typical middle class lifestyle. And then once we got to middle school, we kind of crossed paths because a lot of our, you know, all the middle schools can join into high schools. But then Kenzie went to a different high school, and I went to a school with a lot of her friends from middle school. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, through high school, we reconnect like through gathering
Parties.
parties, partying, and and yeah, and then life brought me out to California after high school. I knew I wanted to go out of state, and it's funny because I actually thought I wanted to go to New York, so I
Oh,
could have been,
really?
yeah, I could have been out there, but I ended up going to community college in San Diego,
I
and then
love San Diego.
so pretty. And then I transferred up to a state school up north once I got in-state tuition, and got my degree in like health science. And then slowly through just like life path, choices, when I was at a time in my life when I was like super abundant and kind of just like living a dream of like traveling the world. I was, yeah, called to do, when I had more time, I would always be drawn to doing art. And like I did it all the time when growing up too, but finally decided to really just give that my all, and have kind of moved back home for now, but still travel here and there.
Right. A temporary home in Sedona.
Yes, yeah.
That's not that bad, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it seems to me that I have trouble staying still, which probably has something to do with my astrology.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, so Brittany went to Selvage. I went to Crestview Middle School. And it's so funny because it's like you said, we just like always kept having meetups. So then we would like go away, meetups. And like the last one was like at our friend's wedding where
Mhm.
you went to high school with her. I went to middle school with her. And we just really connected on a deep level because we were at the same table. And we were having fun. We were drinking wine. we were light and feathery, I guess you could say it,
Yes.
but it was still like we knew, both of us knew that like we wanted to do this. And I've been doing this for 3 years. I brought on a lot of different people. I've never brought on somebody that's my same age from St. Louis. So it's really fun that you're my first. And like we have so much history, her story together, and like our friends and everything. So it's a special one. Um, like you said, you can't sit still. And a lot of this talk has to do with astrology. And I feel like we had a really great introduction. Brittany, both of us graduated from high school in 2010. So I'll just kind of throw that out there if people are interested in like what age group we are in right now.
Mhm.
So we're in our 30s now. You talked about how you got a health sciences degree, but then life and the universe was like, wait a minute, let's course correct Brittany. Let's get her on the art path. And so that's what you're doing right now. And you were doing other things before you were an artist, but were you drawn to art in high school or middle school? What did you want to be with when you grew up? Like, what was like the wish for you when you were growing up?
It's funny, like now looking back when I was a child, like I was always just in my room doing a ton of like creative stuff. I was like dancing and singing in front of the mirror and drawing and like doodling all the time. But I also had this like really like serious academic side of me where I just like loved learning. And then I like thought that I wanted to go to like, a fancy like I don't know. I had like these big
Yeah,
dreams of like having a career and being like this career woman or like and thought I needed to do something more serious
right.
and so I was always into art. Like I loved it. I when I was 7, I think I won some type of contest or something. I got like $100 savings bond where
Ooh.
I was drawing of like a girl wearing a helmet on a skateboard or something and and so it's like something that it's always been like my natural like drawn like wanting for, but then I don't know, like life kind of I think I just got distracted by like one partying and two just like
Yeah.
also yeah, like the academic portion like feeling
The,
like
the
I can't be an
conditioning,
artist. Yeah, like you can't make it as an artist.
right? The conditioning, like, what are you talking about? You want to do art? Like, how are you going to make a living, Brittany? Like,
Right.
the parent in us, but our parents as well, and like the time frame that we were growing up. I think like Gen Z, like we're obviously not Gen Z, we're millennials. Like I think Gen Z grew up in a household that was more fostering to be an artist,
Mhm.
where we really were like in a time period in the 1990s, growing up, early 2000s, where of course, that was like a dream, and it was definitely attainable for some people, but like for most, it was like, what are you talking about? You need to get in. And like women were just really getting into the workforce at that time. I feel like they were really, I mean, they were already in it, but they were really starting to kind of rise up in the ranks. So it kind of makes sense, like for the time that we grew up. And I like that you were drawn to that because now you're back.
Mhm.
And it's like it's always good when we are doing what our soul wants to do. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull up your chart,
Yay.
and it's just like kind of what I do with my clients when I read for them. So like you're kind of my last client of 2022 because in these exchanges I touch on astrology, I do the sun, moon, and rising, but I also want to focus on a particular point. Today we're doing a point, a mathematical point actually. And it's because I've never talked about this point. This has actually been a point that I've like really taken time to understand, and I kept it for the last because honestly, I had to learn more about it. And so now I know about it a little bit more, and I feel comfortable bringing someone on. And so it's like the last point or luminary or planet that I have not talked about in the chart for a yin yang energy exchange. So not only are you the last person I'm seeing in 2022, but like with these yin energy exchanges, this is like the last point that I haven't touched on. And who knows if I'm going to continue this series. If I don't, it's the last one. And it's kind of cool because yin energy exchange was made for women coming on and talking about things that they're interested in and their passion projects or their businesses. And what we're going to talk about today is the dark moon Lilith. Sometimes it's referred to as the black moon Lilith. For short, we'll just call it Lilith. And it's the part of the moon that we do not see from Earth. So it's the darkest part of the moon. And it's connected to raw female yin feminine energy. So like I said, it's almost like a double down on the yin energy exchange, but it's this part of the femininity that's not really seen. Because when we think about when we're looking at the moon from Earth, we see one side of the moon always. We never see that other side. So we're going to talk about today this Lilith, this side of the moon that as humans, unless we went to space, we would not see. But that is such a mysterious thing to think about. And it's in every single woman and actually in every single human on Earth. This side of ourselves that maybe we don't even see. Others maybe have to bring it up to us, or maybe we have to be told by, I don't know, like our spirit guides. Maybe we have to like learn through experience, but once we figure it out, it's like that missing piece to the puzzle, especially for women. So it's like really fun that you're here to talk about that. And so that's kind of a quick introduction of the point that we're going to talk about, and we'll go more into it. But first and foremost, I really like to start with the big three. I call it like Trinity sometimes. You can call it the trifecta. The big three in astrology is sun, moon, and rising. And I don't know if you've ever had an astrology reading, but that's a really great starting point and I use it for a lot of my clients, but sun, moon, and rising in astrology kind of help tell a quick story about a person's personality. So the rising sign is associated with where the sun was rising at the time of your birth. That's why the time is so important. You need to have the time to understand where in the world, no matter if it was in St. Louis or like across the world, the sun is always rising and setting, right? And so when you were born at 2:30 in St. Louis, even though it was during Gemini season, you're a Gemini sun, right? The sun was rising in the part of the sky that Libra was at the time of your birth. So it's really difficult to think about, but if you just realize that the sun is rising and setting, it makes a little bit more sense. So the sun was rising at the time of your birth in the area of the sky that Libra governs. So you're a Libra rising. And then we know that you're a Gemini sun. So June 20th, 1992, the sun was in Gemini, but it was almost going to be Cancer. Like you were like very, very close. 29 degrees Gemini, 41 minutes. If you were born maybe an hour later, or maybe not an hour, we'll say maybe half a day later, you could have been a Cancer, a water sign, but you're an air sign, sun. So we have two air signs. So this might point to the fact that maybe you can't sit still, because how can air sit still, right?
Right.
And then looking at your time of birth, you're born in the midday. So I'm like, okay, I know that the sun is going to be up in the part of the chart that's by the midheaven. And I'll go more into like that in a second, but I really like to look at the time, not only for the rising, but also for the moon. So, Brittany, your moon sign's in Pisces, and it's falling in the house of creativity and fun and play. And Pisces itself is an extremely creative sign. It's a water sign. And so it almost is like, I am so happy that you're back doing what you really love because you're in your house or your moon signs falling in a very creative house, the house of Leo. And it's in, and then the moon is there in Pisces, and it's like all this energy of like wanting to be creative and having, you know, room to do that. And I have a moon sign in the fifth house too. It's in Gemini. And so it's fun because talking with someone else that has a moon sign in the fifth house, it's like good combo. We're gonna have fun no matter what we're talking about. And plus, like you're a Gemini sun, so it's like this fun like banter that I can have like with Gemini suns. I'm a Gemini moon.
I
I'm a
totally.
Scorpio sun,
Oh.
and I think that like your moon sign, my sun sign, both water signs, different. You know, Pisces is a mutable water, Scorpio is a fixed water. But it just shows that, like, you know, people, you seek out friends, you connect with people, and sometimes it's like a balancing act, and your friends are like the people that really inspire you. It's like a complementary synastry chart. So, Brittany, your big three is comprised of two air signs and one water. So there is no earth there. There's there is no fire there. However, and I'll point this out for you because you're off doing your own thing. And we talked about Dara Dubonnet. You have a north node in Capricorn. So there's your earth. And that's where your soul wants to rise. That's your soul's destiny point, your soul's shining star. It's kind of like where you probably did feel like, oh, I wanted to go to like an Ivy League school. Like maybe that was like a part of like your soul's wish, but you're doing it in a different way now. Like you're off and you're creating art and you've created this children's book, which is amazing. And I would love for you to, number one, comment just on your big three and some of the things I talked about, but also elaborate more on this book that you've created.
Okay. Um, yeah, it's I have had my chart read not for a long time, and I find it interesting because, I know that like Gemini is very much like the twins or like the polarity, the duality, and I feel like a lot of my life I have been very like swinging this pendulum, like I'm working all the time or I'm not working at all, or like kind of living in that extremes of lifestyle. But I've heard too that like your rising is also more of like what you're like kind of and maybe you can elaborate more. I don't know
Yeah.
if I'm saying this right, but like you're kind of guided to towards in your life path or something.
A
And
little, a little bit. I think Rising definitely gives off first impressions, and
oh,
Libra is all about art and like is about admiring like a beautiful room and playing music and like having like really nice conversations. You have to remember that Air, Gemini, and Libra love intellect.
mm-hmm.
That are
Yeah.
big on that. They need like good combo, good conversationalists. So Libra like helps kind of like polish up like the art artist in you. Like, it's kind of like a vibe you're giving off when you're even before you even opening your mouth, your vehicle is Libra,
Mm.
first impression. Because it's associated, remember, where the moon or sorry, where the sun is rising in the eastern horizon at the time of your birth. So it's this vehicle that the sun is in. Even though the sun is in Gemini, it was giving off a Libra vibe at 2:30 p.m. on June 20th, 1992 in St. Louis, Missouri. Like this thing that just it goes even further and further. But like you said, like the pendulum thing, what's really going on, in my opinion, is you're right on the money. Gemini is in two places at once.
Mm. Mhm.
And it's about the twins, but it's a really cool sign because it's about time and like past, present, future, and like also just like it's very mental. So like if you think about like conscious mind and subconscious mind, like and merging those two things together, that's another part of it as well. Dark and light too, like the duality of the sign, yin and yang, combining those two things. So that polarity that you're talking about does come through a lot with just Gemini in general, but you're at the 29th degree of Gemini. You're at the fate degree of Gemini because once it hits 29 degrees, 59 minutes, it actually doesn't go to 30, it goes to 0 degrees Cancer. So when
Oh.
it's at the fate degree, it's really, really intense. And it doesn't mean intense in a bad way. And take it from me, I'm a Scorpio stellium. I'm a very intense person and I have a Capricorn stellium. So I mean like its intensity is like oozing out of me. Like thank God I have a Gemini moon sign because without it, I would wear people out. But the thing about it is like it's just like it's really intense energy. And so like your Gemini moon is really coming up or sorry, Gemini sun. I'm a Gemini moon, you're the Gemini sun. Really coming alive because it's at that fate degree. You're on the cusp.
Yeah.
People talk about that all the time, Gemini, Cancer cusp, but yeah, like you're really there. You're living it. You live it every day. And so like you might have that tug of war just even with Gemini and Cancer.
I definitely experienced that a lot.
So
Like,
tell me about the book.
oh yeah. So the book, and that kind of like goes into a little bit how the Gemini Cancer shift. Like,
Yes.
so I love traveling. I love moving around. Like I've always loved that. And um, back in 2020, I helped my dad move out to California, and then I was making my way back to Missouri because at the same time I started connecting more with my family. And from what I know, cancer is a lot about home and family.
Mhm.
And so I've like been living this like, oh, I want to be close to family, but oh, I want to travel. And so I've kind of been doing a little bit of both, which has been fun. But
Yeah.
yeah, on the way back to Missouri from California, I stopped in Arizona and I discovered Sedona for the first time. And then yeah, I was basically in Sedona from February until July of 2020. A lot big part because I met um, a beautiful soul named Zach, and we, became fast friends. Then I, fell in love with him, and he was reciting this poem all the time of that he had written like years ago, and it was all about trust, and it was just like really short poem, but it was just really powerful. And he would, we were going to like open mics, he would recite it there, he would just recite it to people on the street. There's lots of different transient people, travelers, tourists that come through Sedona. So like he's
Yeah.
very he's just like a very talkative person. but
Yes. Oh my
but yeah.
God. When I went there, just to really quickly, just if anybody's
Mhm.
listening, like when they play it back for on the YouTube, I felt like when I went there for the first time, I was there on like kind of like a internship business trip. I
Mm.
was working for KPMG. I had a client out there. I got flown all the way from New York City there to, Phoenix. I was in Phoenix. I was also in Tempe, Arizona, and it was all on KPMG's dime. I didn't pay for it.
Wow, that's
And I
nice.
remember, I remember being like, I'm on an internship. I'm here in New York City. I want to be in New York City. I don't know why I'm going to Arizona. But it was such a blessing because it was in the middle of February. It was cold as hell in New York City, like so cold, bone chilling cold.
Mm.
And I went to Arizona in February. It was beautiful. It was 80 degrees. I had never been over there. And we went to Sedona for like a weekend trip because we were not going to go back to New York. We had too much work to do during the week. And I remember getting to Sedona and just feeling energy. And that was the first time I had ever gone to a place and felt energy. I think at that age, I was like 23, 24. And so like I hadn't really gotten into the work that I do now. But if I would have gone to that place at 31, oh my God. I mean, now I know it. I know energy, but like that was a foreign idea and a foreign feeling for me. But I remember really feeling it there because like the vortexes and all that energy. And you've lived there now so you know it way better than I do. But like, do you feel that as well?
Yeah, it's like it's a feminine energy. Well, for the
Yeah.
most part, Sedona was a woman who founded it, and it's just very like motherly and strong and kind of like intense though. Like I've
Yeah.
people go there, like I've heard stories of friends saying that they like once they got there they started having super vivid dreams or like things like coming up. And if you go on the different hikes, I've had, my uncle was explaining to me how he went on a hike and was like sitting at the vortex and like kind of just had like breakthroughs with his own like health and
Yeah.
just yeah. So I had never really known about Sedona until I got up there. And then I was just really wanting to hike. And there's just tons of hiking. Like you could never hike any of like all of Sedona. So, and you can also like live out on the land for free. So I was camping out of my car and just hiking all day and also wanting to do more art, but didn't really know how that was going to come about. And I had been inspired to do children's books like uh, a a year or two prior, but I never like got around to finishing one that I was working on. Um, and then once me and Zach were dating, there was one day where we were just like, oh, it'd be really cool to like make this into a children's book, and we kind of like doodled out some sketches, and then you know our relationship wasn't necessarily like um, working out. It wasn't,
Mhm.
just, there was just a lot of triggering going on. And I also felt called to go back to St. Louis and felt like I got some guidance to do that. So I left and came back home. And once some time passed, I really felt into making the children's book because I just really believed in the message of the poem. And
Yeah.
once I decided to do that, I was kind of driving back and forth from Sedona to St. Louis a few different times to just like
Wow.
take pictures and like get inspired by the land because it's
Mhm.
the illustrations are all like Sedona landscapes. There's different actual businesses that are in that town. So it's kind of like a love letter to Sedona in a way, like through the art, because I do love it there. And then like Zach is the main character and he's like walking around Sedona like
What's it
so
called, Brittany?
it's called a trust poem. Just really simple.
I love that though, but it's so funny because like you're like living out your chart a little bit when you're saying you're driving back and forth and getting inspiration. I mean, Gemini rules like domestic travel that you can do in the car.
Okay.
And yeah, and it's like it's really cool because it's like probably like every time, also like Gemini likes to be moving and they get really, they are, you can classify it as a he because air signs are yang energy, but I'll just say they get really good ideas like when they're moving. So
Mm.
like whether you're walking, so like when I used to walk dogs in New York City, I would get like the best ideas. And that was my Gemini moon at play. And like when you're driving a car, sometimes it's so relaxing because you just have one thing and it's to drive and to focus on the road. You can take away your phone, you can take away, and you can sometimes be alone in the car and you can just listen to music or just nothing, roll down the windows. But I think that it's a very therapeutic thing for some people to drive.
Mhm.
And like to take that drive from St. Louis to Sedona, that's not a like a quick drive. It's a long, long drive. It's what, 20 hours? Like
22.
20, 22 hours. So you're in there, you're doing a lot of domestic travel, but like along the way, it's like the saying, it's like it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. And like on those car rides, I'm sure like other things came up. You stopped at other different places, but you through it, I feel like maybe you got inspired each time and it just added to the book and the finished product.
Yeah, yeah, it was it's funny, like I feel it was all like last year that this happened, and it feels like kind of like a dream in a way that like that like just happened. And but yeah, I'm super grateful to like have kind of like completed that dream. But it's also, with my Gemini, or maybe it's just the air sign quality, like now, once you complete a book, it's like its journey is not complete. Like people aren't going to know about it unless you talk about it. And so
Right.
to me, it's like my mind is like shoo, shoo, shoo. Oh, okay, well I did this, now I'm like on to like 15 million other projects. And it's like no, 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 like you have to like remember, like you spent 7 months creating this, you have to like read it to people, like you have to like tell people that you did it. So
I know. I feel the same way. And I think it's like, I think it must be the Gemini thing, like on to the next thing. Cause
yeah.
like I created 2 courses this year, and sometimes I'm like, yeah, I need to start talking about those. Like I need to put them out there and like show people what I've done and connect with people that are in those particular spaces. And you're right, it doesn't matter. It's a finished product, it's done. Well, that's the beautiful thing. It is done, it's completed. But now you had to play with it. You have to put it out there. And Geminis like to play and like to have fun. So like you can definitely do that. It's just a different, it's gonna be a different journey because like you're gonna have to put it out in different ways. And it's actually a good segue into like the the dark moon Lilith, that what we're going to talk about. So
Excited to hear.
last but not least, before I move on, your sun sign is also in the ninth house, which is the Sagittarius house.
Hmm.
International travel lives in this house, and it's fun because you have a Gemini sun ruling domestic travel, but it's living in this international travel house. So it's kind of interesting because you have both of those things, dynamics going on at the same time. And we talked about the tug of war with Cancer and Gemini, but there's also a tug of war here with Gemini and Sag. They're polar opposite signs. They sit on opposite ends of the astrology chart. They're just polar opposite. So that's also coming at play as well. Your North Node in Capricorn is in the house of domestic travel, but your South Node, maybe your many past lives, is Cancer, and it's living in the ninth house of international travel. But it's just that's a part of you. And so travel is really, really important for you. It sounds like you understand that though.
Yeah.
So we're going to move down to the bottom part of your chart. This is more of an internal part of your world. Any houses that are below the ascendant descendant line are very internal. So we see that your moon sign here, and it's Pisces. It's at 1 degree Pisces, 43 minutes, falling in the fifth house. We talked about that. We shared that. Both of us have that. What's interesting is that your black moon Lilith or your dark moon Lilith, or we'll just call it Lilith because it's just easier, it's one word, is in the fourth house. And it's living right by Saturn, which is also in Aquarius. And you're going through your Saturn return like I am right now. We're both going through that. That's just the name of the game when you're 30, 31 years old right now in 2022. There's nothing to worry because it's a Saturn return helps up level your life. It really is kind of like the strict dad in high school, but we all look back and we thank the strict dad, those strict dads in high school. But it's interesting because your moon sign, so that would be what we see on Earth, that moon, that part of the moon that we all see, the one that's either the full moon, the new moon, a waxing crescent, whatever, that moon that we see is kind of close to that part of the moon that we don't see, that Lilith. And they're both in two different signs. And it's signs that actually share a border. We'll say it that way because you're into travel. And Pisces energy is very creative. It's very, it's very spiritual as well. Like it's just a extremely wise sign. It's the oldest sign in the zodiac. It's what ends the zodiac. It's the 12th sign. And it's all about karma and dharma. Very karmic, dharmic energy going on with Pisces. Connected to past, present, and future, kind of bringing that Gemini idea like 100 steps further. Pisces is like really, the circle of life. Now, Aquarius is a different energy. It's another air sign. So you're familiar with the air. Gemini and Libra are in your big three. Aquarius is here, and it's a part of your feminine energy. And that's very about being innovative and trying something new and being radical or being like a rebel. Because Aquarius is an old sign in the zodiac as well. It's the 11th sign of the zodiac. So we're getting, like, we can compare Aquarius to like our 60s or 70s in life, where you're getting older, but you still are with it. You probably can still like drive a car or do things, and like you have zero filter on your mouth. You're saying things that you wish you said back in your 20s and 30s, and you're like, I better say it now, because if I don't say it now, when the hell am I ever going to say it? So Aquarius has this kind of rebellious side, and it's also like extremely intellectual. Very, very loves a good thought bubble. Wants to provoke a thought that's extremely out there. Like we're talking like different galaxies. Aquarius is in space. It's connecting to life forms that maybe we don't have all the information on. And so it's really cool because I know you, and I feel like you have tapped into that, which a lot of people do not know about their Lilith, or they don't like really realize that's a part of them. But I mean, sometimes it takes other methods or modalities or rituals to get to the Lilith part of the divine feminine. As women, it's a little bit easier for us to connect to this energy versus men that are a man in this lifetime. I believe in many lifetimes. I've been revealed that I was a man in a different life, and I truly believe that because sometimes I'm like feeling extremely masculine, like just with energy I'm talking about, like kind of like the energy that I was referring to back in Sedona. So it's like, but as women, I do believe that like we're lucky because we now live in a time where like the future is female and everybody kind of knows that. And so like we're able to like be women and like attune to our emotional side and not feel bad about that. And so I think women now are taking it a step further and they're like, well, I want to know more about my shadow side and my
Mhm.
shadow self. And that is pulling in the Lilith energy. Because the thing about it is the conditioning, even still as a woman, it's like, you know, it's better. It's better. But like if a woman was walking around in the 1990s looking sexy, like Princess Diana, it was
Mhm.
like, whoa, like Americans loved it, but did the British love it? Probably not.
Mhm.
And so it's like this thing that is still evolving for women, and women, have are extremely complex. Women bring children into the world.
Mhm.
Um, and there's so much more like now with the transgender community and all that stuff. It's like there's just so many facets of being a woman, but Pisces loves to make sure that we don't exclude anyone and we have to bring men into the conversation. And so men can access this energy as well, but just knowing a little bit more about your Lilith, do you feel like you have been able to connect to the Aquarian side of your moon, where it is a little bit more out there and futuristic? And does that come out in this book?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. um yeah, it's definitely like melding together a lot of different concepts and ideas. I kind of feel like I like breaking stereotypes and I like the unity of like there's like there's UFOs in it. There's there's like a page where he's like sitting on a rock and all of his chakras are like aligned and this light is coming out. And there's one page where like Jesus and Krishna and Buddha and a mermaid and an alien and all these people are
Love
holding
it.
hands and like
I
and
need to get a book. I need to give this to my nieces and nephews. Big time.
I have books. But yeah, it's definitely like its purpose is and it also talks about like it says God in the poem. Like it is very like, it's light, but it's also deep and like and it's meant to like, it's funny, I've had people call it like they're like, do you consider this a children's book? Because the message is very much for adults. But
Yeah,
like the pictures are all like fun for kids. And,
right.
um, so yeah, and I think that's where children's books are kind of going too in some ways because it's like
Yeah,
someone
definitely.
said to me recently that it's like a lot more fun for a parent to read a children's book when it has something for them too.
Also, like it's like could like work for any age. So like when like for even like our age when we met each other, how old were we? Like 11, 12?
Yeah.
Perfect book for people at that age as well. It's like almost like or grandmas and grandpas.
Hmm. Oh yeah. Yeah, so I feel like that definitely it's so funny that like Aquarius is in the Lilith because I my best friend is also an Aquarius sun, so and she's very much exactly how you described. So it's
Yeah, and it's cool because where that is living is like your moon sign, the Pisces is in the fifth of play, and then that Lilith is in the fourth house, connected to ancestry. And so when I was in Sedona, I felt like that was the first time that I felt connection to the other side. I talk about that in one of my courses. It's not really over. It's a course about death, dying, grieving, and learning about the afterlife. And it was the first time I felt connection to my like lineage that had passed away, my grandparents. And I love that because for you, it's almost like you're bringing in a lot of different ideas, religion, you're bringing in different philosophies, you're bringing in like aliens, and also like that the description you have of Sedona, how it's like Mother Willow from Pocahontas. It's like kind of that strong, and it's so weird because it's almost like the energy of Lilith, because Lilith is a warrior woman. It's not just like a divine feminine, like Venusian type of energy. It's a raw energy. And that's why it's connected to shame at times. And it's connected to our emotions or ourselves that we hide away, including ourselves. We hide it away from everyone, including ourselves. And so it's fun because it's like what you're talking about, Sedona, it's like it's a motherly like welcome when you get there, but it's like it's deep and like there's a rude awakenings if you want to explore yourself. Like you're talking about your uncle, and it's like that's so weird that I didn't even plan for you to say that, but sometimes when I have calls or do client readings, a message will come through and it's like really healing for not only me but the client, and then the fact that I'm going to share this on YouTube and like social, it's like it's great because it's connecting other people. Other people can view this, and other people have been to Sedona, but it's like it's a magical place. And I'm so happy that it's like a love letter to Sedona because it's probably one of my favorite places that I've ever been to in the United States. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's same for me. That's why I thought I wanted to live there, but then it was that pull to go back to family.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's your Cancer South node
Mhm.
talking like, I want to go back and, home. And like your Lilith is in the fourth house, which is the house of home. And so that is also a part of just like the part of the moon sign that we don't see. And maybe you're bringing your the reason why you were called back to go home was to bring this beautiful book alive. You said that you didn't start writing it until you were in your hometown.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
you're bringing this really radical idea that St. Louis, I love St. Louis. The spirit of St. Louis is great. But at times I do feel like we are bogged down by the minutia of St. Louis. And so it's hard because everyone is conditioned, and it's hard to have these conversations at times with people in St. Louis. It's all about where'd you go to high school, like that type of talk. And
Mhm.
I love St. Louis, obviously. Like I'm very proud to be from St. Louis. Nellie's from St. Louis, SZA's from St. Louis, Andy Cohen's from St. Louis. I mean, the list goes on. There's a movie, Meet Me in St. Louis, but the thing about it is, and we understand this, we've moved out of St. Louis, we've gone to different places. And when you go to different places and you come back to St. Louis, it's almost like you really appreciate St. Louis even more. But it's so awesome because we're kind of like the trailblazers. We come back and we're like, we've learned this, we want to share it with people. And it's just like that's what I think makes St. Louis great is like Andy Cohen is so passionate about being from St. Louis, and like he doesn't live in St. Louis, but he comes back and he talks about it. He's a huge Cardinals fan. Like it's just fun. Like John Hamm, I don't think Brad Pitt, but John Hamm is from St. Louis. It's just that I'm from the Lou and I'm proud, but like at the same time, like we have an itch to go other places. You have that in your chart.
Mhm.
I have a Gemini moon. I want to get out and have fun and like see the world. And like my 12th house is governed by Sagittarius, it's like very karmic for me to go out and travel. Like when I'm away, I learn things that I could never learn in school.
Right.
And it's just like that is the reason behind maybe the travel bug that we have or whatever. But I mean, I'm need to get I need to get two books, by the way, because I want to give one to my sister's
Oh.
uh family and one to my half brother's family because it sounds like this book is very like it would be so fun for me to read it to them because I'm more of a spiritual gal than
Mhm.
you would have known in middle school, but I think it was always inside of me. It sounds like it was always inside of you as well. And it's really fun to connect with you like and this is honestly one of the best yin energy exchanges I've had. So, Brittany, you have to tell people where they can get the book, what you're doing now, like the projects you're doing now, how people can find you on social, and then last but not least, how do you want others to feel when they're interacting with you as an artist or interacting with the trust poem or a trust poem?
Oh, wow. So how do I start? Well, so my umbrella term for all of my creative projects or my company, you could call it, is the Britterfly effect, which is like a play on words with the butterfly effect, which is all about how, the flock, like the flying wings of a butterfly can create like a tsunami in another space. So it's basically saying, like, I want all of my projects to create more positive impact in the world in whatever ways that is. So just if it just inspires, if it makes someone laugh, if it makes their day a little bit better, like anything. And also I've been really passionate about like the earth, like the earth's health and our health,
Right.
are the two pillars. I think, I mean, if we don't have a healthy body, then we don't have anything really. And if
Right.
we don't have a healthy home, which is earth, we don't have anything. So I hope that like my art and creative works kind of inspire people to want to more, just like appreciate the health of their bodies and the earth. And so right now, I've been doing a series of animal paintings, and I've been wanting to, or I am creating more modalities of those being shared. So I have like, you can buy prints, but you could also buy t-shirts or tapestries or whatever. And 11% of the proceeds will go to different nonprofits that are helping the big cats or something related to what,
That's
art is. And that's kind of a new project that I've been putting out there. Um, as far as the book, everything is on my website, which is just thebritterflyeffect.com. But I also am working to be more active on Instagram, which is also at the Britterfly Effect. And right now, me and Zach have kind of just been ordering books in bulk, and people contact us to receive the book, or you can order online through like the Shopify, or just the electronic transfer. But I'm hoping that once I get to Sedona, we can kind of streamline that a little more, since I'll be traveling, so I won't have stock of books. But yeah, so those are kind of been going on right now. Once I leave St. Louis, because I am going to be doing some traveling soon, in January, starting January. I mean, I'll always do art. I don't think I could stop. I love it. Like, it's fun. But I'm definitely gearing more into like just focusing some more on like different writing projects. Like, not like illustrating, but like just words. And yeah, and just kind of want to play around with different other creative passions like dancing and singing, and
I love
just
that.
see where it goes. Like, um, But yeah, I'll definitely always be drawing and painting and hoping that, everything that I create continues to send ripples of positivity and joy and inspiration or whatever, like.
Right. I love that. So is your Instagram the at the Britterfly effect? Is that your handle? Okay, so and it's at the BRITT.
ER fly effect. And effect is EFFECT.
Perfect. And I think that it's interesting that you want to play with words soon because that's very Gemini, like writing and Libra is like the music, like the dancing and maybe the singing, who knows. But um yeah, I'm really happy that you said that you want to continue to do art because I think that that is like so important for you, your moon sign to continue to do that. But Brittany, it's been really fun to talk to you. We're at our hour and it's been a beautiful exchange. And I love that your symbol is a butterfly because that is very feminine in my opinion and the things that you're working on, the nonprofits that you're giving back to, and that your passion about bringing awareness of Mother Earth that's so needed. And I would just say, like, don't stop in 2023, like, keep going because you have a really strong message. And I just feel like that's why I felt like you needed to be on this series and like we gotta get like the replay and you can post it on your Instagram and all that stuff. So anyway, it was really nice to talk to you. I really will reach out to you about the book and we can maybe link up because I'll be in St. Louis before the or for the New Year Eve, New Year Day, I'll be here as well. So we'll have to try to figure out a time to meet up and I want to get my hands on 2 copies.
Perfect. Yay. I can't wait to show you the book after this conversation. And I'm so grateful you asked. And thank you for sharing like all that stuff about my chart. Every time I get a reading, it's just like, whoa, like just, uncovering different layers of like ourself is so cool through this modality and this tool.
Yeah, it's an ancient ritual, and like my company is Ruby Jade Rituals,
Mhm.
and I named it after a name that I came up with, like dedicated to my grandmother. She gave me like a fake ruby, and like it's really like a lot of depth, a lot of spirituality, and like I feel like butterflies are very spiritual. They kind of send messages from the other side, maybe a person that passes. So the name itself is very spiritual, and I don't think people really understand it. A lot of people think Ruby is my name. It's not. My
Mhm.
first name is Erin, actually, and my middle name is Mackenzie, and I go by my middle nickname, Kenzie. But Ruby Jade, I say to my people, Ruby is like the astrology,
Yeah.
Jade is the numerology, and so I combine them two together. They're both really ancient rituals, and so the name was Ruby Jade Rituals, and I liked that it was 2 R's and 1 J, and it was just like this kind of symbolic thing, like three, but yeah, very, very symbolic. And it's you're exactly right that astrology is kind of like an onion. You keep pulling back, more layers are getting revealed, and it's kind of crazy how spot on it can be. And it's really not a belief system, it's a language, and my job is just to interpret that language to people. So what I said, you probably already knew. It was just, me having a magnifying glass up to your chart and being like, hey, have you ever looked at this?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely learned new things, and you're right. It's it's a gift that you're giving back to the world to help people understand this language. So thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, my motto is like come home to yourself. So I'm so glad that I could give you that gift before the end of the year because this is we have one day left of 2022. We're gonna flip the page in a new calendar year. So, Brittany, once again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I really appreciate this. This is like a fantastic talk, and I'm looking forward to uploading it and sending you a copy so you can use it and all that stuff.
So excited. Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome.
See
Bye.
you. Bye.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.